Today's episode is brought to you by Viralcast, the first and only completely done-for-you podcast production service. Build new relationships, create a deeper connection with your database, and get exposure to new audiences. Here's how it works. You interview influencers in your market. You start building that new relationship. Then you take that valuable content and share it with your database. Your guest then shares the content with their list. Everybody wins. You get new relationships, you create a deeper connection with your list, and get exposure to new people that you would never have access to. And look, if you're currently mining your database with video, stop. Audio is the new reality. We are living in an influence economy. Exposure is the new social capital. Go to Viralcast with a K to learn more. And right now, for the first 25 subscribers, we're offering a 50% off the getting started price. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Hey, friends. How's it going? How's everything on this fantastic Tuesday? Look, today's guest... Wait, hold on a second. We constantly get new listeners to the show every day. So if you were new, welcome. Glad you found it. Now, here's what we do if you haven't listened. We break down top producing agents, top producing people. We talk about what they're doing right now in 2016 to build their business. We talk about tech stuff, online, offline. We cover it all. Today's guest is a world-class coach. I would say in the world of coaching, there's a handful of people that I admire. Today's guest is one of them. I very much admire Bob Corcoran and the stuff that he is doing. I won't start saying names, but today's guest is none other than Mr. Tom Ferry. Now, whatever you think about Tom, right? People love him, people hate him, just like everything else. Tom is a fantastic entrepreneur, and no matter what you think of him, he has built a phenomenal business. I mean, he has 130 coaches, plus who knows how many support staff, and he's helping change people's lives. So we get into a little bit of everything. We get into sort of kind of what he likes to do, him personally. Then we get into, what he sees in the industry, what's working right now. And then he gets into some very specific tactic strategies that nobody is doing. What he brings up one thing I think is really, really amazing. And if somebody could exploit this thing that he talks about, I think probably I don't know what minute it is, but it's certainly past minute 30. So that's it. I hope you like it. I had fun doing it. Now, if you want to level up, you can go hire a coach. Sure, you can do that. You can invest in yourself that way, or you can invest in something like radio, right? That will get you leads. Bang. Come list me leads. So if you want to level up right now, inventory is tight everywhere, getting listings is getting harder and harder, go check out realestateradioexperts.com and fill out the getting started sheet, and let's chat. All right. Hey, let's get to it. Hold on real quick. We always cover Twitter. Join the conversation. My Twitter handle is @SuperAgentsLive. Hashtag for the show is Unpack That Idea. And if you haven't yet, go to the website, superagentslive.com, download my free book, get on my list. I share stuff with my list that I don't share anywhere else. All right, that's it. Let's go. Today on the show, look, you know what? There are people, or figures, I would say, in every industry that when they talk, everybody listens. And sometimes these people can actually move markets, right? So Steve Jobs might be that guy in technology. Warren Buffett might be that guy in finance. And some people would argue that today's guest is that person or one of those people for real estate. I'm thrilled to welcome my pal, Tom Ferry. Tom, what's up, man?
Hey, Toby. Thank you so much, man. And, as we jump into this, I want to just say to you and to all your listeners, they should all give you a hug. They should all give you 5 stars. They should all thank you, man, for being you and, corralling all these crazy people like myself and others to share and contribute. So congrats to you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. Hey, so look, for those people, for those rare few people who've been living in a cage, or a cave with bin Laden, tell us about who you are, Tom.
So, God, I would tell you that I'm happily married for 23 years to the same woman, entrepreneur who started more companies than I can imagine. I'm probably the most proud when I think about my 2 children. I've got a 15-year-old and a about to be 17-year-old boy that are totally opposite and different, and I'm just embracing and loving having teenagers. I built a business with some people that I love, and we have about 130 business coaches and now about 122, I think, full-time employees. And we're just on a mission, man. I'm just one of those guys that figured out a long time ago that, I was thinking, I was having to explain, Toby, to my son yesterday that, yes, I failed basically out of 4 high schools, or was kicked out of 4, and, went to work for a family business and was very blessed in that I got to fall in love with something that I was good at, like in my DNA, which is helping people and sales and marketing and coaching and consulting. And, now I'm 28, 29 years into it, and I never look back. I just keep trying to innovate and make it better and do it better and serve more customers, and kind of that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, great. And I want to talk about innovation later. But so do you think, Tom, look, you're this guy, clearly a smart guy, clearly a driven guy, somebody who has tons of energy. I'm sure that, you're in your 40s now. I'm sure that when you were 16, 17, it was double what you have today. Were you one of those kids that just didn't want to play by the rules? Is that why you got kicked out of school, or were you just so bright that you're just like, oh, I don't need this?
So I've never had my IQ tested, but we've certainly had some fun doing that with my children. I think I was the guy that figured out very early that it was fun to game the system, that it was fun to see if you could, be a leader. And as my mother always said, the challenge was, honey, you always were, a pretty passionate leader. You just led people in the wrong direction. So I was the guy that was trying to convince, his entire high school to leave at, noon and not come back and throw a party at somebody's house. So whether it was that or learning how to sell, I think I've always had that in me. I don't know if I'm the brightest guy, but I certainly try and find the smartest, best people around me, and then allow me just to do what I do best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. So you are, again, and I think leading. I think that ability, that talent, that. That thing, being able to lead people. You don't really need to be that smart, right? You need to know how to corral people, get people on your side, get people going towards the direction you want to get them. Do you think, Tom, did you play sports? Do you think that natural leadership that you have, is that innate, or did you somehow develop that along the way?
It's funny. I just did a company-wide meeting for our internal team, and that was one of the questions that somebody asked. They were like, were you always this way? And I have to be honest, Toby, I'm almost somewhat offended by the question. No, I wasn't born like this. I had to work my ass off. My first coach, Robert Stover, my third coach, Robert Stuberg, my first coach, Robert Stover, had me writing 60 NLP language pattern sentences every day for 18 months because he knew that passion and enthusiasm would only get me so far, that at the end of the day, if I was going to be, whether it's in sales or in leadership, that language would matter. So I earned that. I did the work, and I continue to do the work today. So, no, I don't believe that I was born to do it. I do think that, energy was always something I had, but it was always focused in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
So, to me, a leader is just someone that can create a vision that inspires everybody else around them to say, I can see myself inside that. And then you find the talented people and you give them the tools and the resources, and then you let them go do their thing, as long as it all works out inside the right sandbox. So, I don't know, I get excited about this conversation. The first part is, no, I earned this shit.
Yeah.
I had to work my ass off to become this way, and I still do, which tells me that every person listening right now, even if they like me, they don't like me, they've never heard of me, I don't care. What I know is this: everybody has it in them to get better. Everybody's got it in them. And the great sort of cardinal sin is to wake up a year from now and be the same person.
Yeah.
That scares me to death.
It's all about putting in the reps, man. And I'll tell you, I have a somewhat similar story. I mean, I was in college, 22 years old, I would be, my buddies would come back home at 2:30, 3 a.m. and they'd open my door because I didn't go out with them. And I was, I'd be reading Tony Robbins, right? And then, I put in the reps early. And now, like people go, Toby, you have it so easy. And I'm like, yeah, but I've been doing this for 30 years. So speaking of that, I definitely, whether it was me reading Tony Robbins or you, writing these, NLP statements, we both wanted to find success. We both have found different measurements of success in our lives. But let me ask you, Tom, for you, what is success to you? What does that mean to you?
I don't know if I have a clear enough definition for like what success means. I will tell you that what matters most to me. So, if I thought about my values, that would probably ultimately shape my success. It's number one that, myself and my family are healthy, right? That at its core, my wife is a, 30-plus year vegetarian, and, I am her constant science experiment. Honey, try this, do this herb, see how this makes you feel. My boys were, basically banned from fast food for the first 12 years of their lives. Like they ate tofu every day and broccoli. So health and vitality, exercise, the right mindset is super important to me. And then I would tell you that, my second most important value is having an impact, right? So once I'm right and my family's right, then it's how many people can I impact? So I guess if I were to define a part of my success, I would look at the vision of our company and say we are like massively committed in the next 3 years to be working with 10,000 people inside of our ecosystem that are all selling 50-plus homes a year, and some will sell 500 and some will sell 10 in Beverly Hills, but the average will be 50 transactions a year, and you can figure out the math. That's 10% of every transaction being done in the U.S., and what that tells me is every Monday morning, all my coaches get started doing their thing with all these amazing clients, and it's like 10,000 pebbles being dropped into these lakes, and the ripple effect, Toby, of great agents serving customers at a higher level, raising the standards and the bars of the real estate, consumer, right? What they think about our industry, like that for me, like that's going to be a part of my dash between the day I was born and the day I died. That's going to be a big chunk of my dash.
So big chunk of your dash, right? So health, vitality, you want to make an impact. Is there one thing, right? If I'm sure you've read Gary Keller's The One Thing. It's a good book. Is there one thing that gets you out of bed and just pumped up in the morning? What is that one thing for you?
I actually didn't read Gary Keller's book because I think one thing is totally full of shit.
I've heard you say that before.
You know what I mean? Like, because if there was one thing, like we would all just find one thing. But success is like 1,000 things. Like business is sales, innovation, marketing, customer care, values of your organization, organizational structure, financial management. Like business is 1,000 things. So I when I saw the title of the book, I thought, good on them. They'll sell a bunch, but it's probably crap. And I respect Gary. I've known Gary forever, and Chris Heller is the CEO, is a longtime friend. So nothing personal about it. I just don't buy into that. What gets me out of bed in the morning? I mean, Toby, at this point, like, it's not about money. Like, what gets me out of bed, I don't know. Like, my schedule is full of meaningful appointments, time with people I want to impact, time with people that can impact me. Every day is slightly different. In the next 2 weeks, I'll be in Istanbul, Israel, the Czech Republic. I'll come home. I'll go to New York and Boston with my son for a couple days. I'll talk to 8,000 or 9,000 people, and if that doesn't fire somebody up like me, I don't know what would. So, the mix between that and then knowing that it's my wife's birthday coming up and my son's birthday coming up, like, there's no like work and life for me. You with me?
Yeah.
I don't live in a world of this or that. Right. I live in a world of this and that. So I get just as much joy and happiness and fired up because it's Saturday morning and my son's got a tennis match as I do like, I'm going to go talk to like 900 agents in Tel Aviv that don't even speak English. This is going to be awesome. Like both those experiences completely fire me up. So that, that's me.
Yeah. Well, and again, what I wanted to I'm going to ask you another question, and we can move on from here. But what I wanted to do was try to. I know your life is very blended, right? Work. There's no distinction between work, family, life. It's all sort of or business, right? It's all sort of blended together.
Yeah.
So if you could, for a guy like you, your wife's a vegetarian. You have these kids who are ultra healthy. I'm sure they're. You said they're very opposite. You live in Newport Beach. What does a day look like? What does an average day look like for you? And really, I'm trying to get into some of the, do you surf with your kids? Do you go skateboarding? Like, what does an average day look like?
So my son, last time I was on a skateboard was, the day before my son took one down the hill and gave himself a nice concussion. And I thought, maybe no more skateboarding for a while. So I used to skate. I grew up in Southern California, like everybody, man. I snowboard. I have 2 paddle boards. I love the ocean. I love the water. But it's just carving out a little more time to do all that stuff. I don't know, man. Like, I think at the end of the day, like, I'm probably just like everybody else out there. The difference is, I get up, when I get up, whether that's, 4:45 or it's 5:30 in the morning, I've made an intentional transition of my schedule because I've noticed that my energy really becomes optimized at around 9 o'clock in the morning. So, if I go to the gym at 5, then, basically I'm drained by the time I normally would hit my optimum peak, where I'd either want to be on stage, I'd want to be consulting with somebody, I'd want to be doing a coaching session, as an example. Then I have a little lull in the middle of my day, and then I take off again, and I go until about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
Wow.
So I try and just shape my entire day around making sure that when I'm at my optimum, I am with the people I should be with, giving that energy to.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So whether that's like, my kids, my wife, my best friend, on the golf course, consulting with a client, helping a startup company, whatever it is, I just try and maximize my energy and my time to coincide, to deliver, if you will, the most value to people.
Right. And you can do that because you're aware of those ebbs and flows with you. And look, and I'll tell you, for me, like, when it comes to asking that question about skateboarding and surfing, I can tell you, for me, right, I do all that stuff. I'm 46. I have a half pipe. It's a 5-foot half pipe, but I still skate every week. Awesome. I rock climb, and kind of what I wanted to tease out of you, Tom, is somebody like me, like, I need that adrenaline. I need that risk in my life, right? That's the thing that balances me out. Do you, as an entrepreneur, you take risks every day? Do you need that, like, to put yourself in that state of a risky situation to even yourself out?
Business is risky enough.
Okay.
You with me? Like, being an investor in as many companies as I've invested in, owning a business, having the number of employees we have and the number of responsibilities that come along with that is risky enough. Like, do I have a car? Do I like to drive fast? Sure, but whatever. Like, do I like to snowboard? Yes. Do I like to surf? Yes. But no, I don't need that outlet necessarily. Like, my outlet is doing what I do. Like, there you go. Me being
Impact.
on stage for 3 hours is like.
Yeah.
It's funny when I talk to people that say, "Oh my God, I did a talk and I got off stage and I was exhausted." I'm like, exhausted? I get off stage and I'm exhilarated. I want to spend like 43 more hours on stage answering questions and contributing and sharing. So I guess one man or one woman's rush is another person's rush. Like, for me, doing what I do gives me so much joy and happiness. It fills all my needs.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No, that's great. That's a great answer. And and I'll tell you, I've seen you on stage, in real life, and I was thinking about this earlier today. I was driving and I was thinking about just our conversation today. And, there are people who are dynamic speakers, but you have that certain other thing, right? You have a body language that you use. And I can tell, at least for me, I think I can tell, like, you are playing to the crowd, like, with your body. Like, and it's, did you take acting classes, to get that way, or,
Okay, so here's the real deal.
Okay.
My mentor, I have many mentors in my life, Toby, as you do. One of my mentors, who was my first and true speech coach, a guy named Ron Arden, who lived half the year in San Diego and half the year in South Africa. This beautiful little 5'2", gentleman's gentleman who I remember sending, this is dating myself, a VHS of me speaking. And I was referred to him by Brian Tracy, who I'm sure you know that name, another one of my mentors, a motivational speaker, author, writer, yada, yada. And I remember seeing Brian speak, and I knew his old sort of robotic way, and then I saw him over the course of 2 years transition to just having more fun on stage and being more fluid. And I was like, man, like, what did you do? And he's like, Ron Arden. So I hired this guy, Ron, and over the course of about a year, he really got me to understand that, there's edutainment. This is the first time I'd heard that phrase before. Like, it's one thing to deliver solid content, but you have to understand we live in an ADD culture where people are like looking at their phone, they're distracted, the person in front of them is stinky, like they're hungry, they've got, they missed a mortgage payment, they got all this stuff going on inside their head, and you've got to captivate them. So he was the first that taught me, like, hey, you got the chops, but now let's learn to like play with the audience a little bit more. And when I say play, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like it's,
absolutely.
Like I want them to be engaged. I want them to be entertained. And then when it's rock solid and serious, and like you need to do this stuff because it's going to get you listings and make you money. Like I've earned that listening because I was connected with them.
Yeah,
so Ron Arden, hands down, extraordinary. Read his book; it's unbelievable. He wrote one book and one book only with Brian Tracy. I believe it was called The Power of Charm.
We'll look it up. We'll have it on the show notes. And the reason why I brought that up is if people can watch you, if people can see what you do and kind of break it down, because, when we are at a sales meeting, if we're on a listing presentation, we're on stage, right? And we need to think about all that stuff. We need to think about our body language, because that is, as you know, Tom, that's 70% of how we communicate. It's not our words. It's what we do with our body. So again, if for anybody out there, if you go watch some of Tom's stuff and pay attention to how he uses his body and how he communicates with the audience with his body language. So listen, you mentioned your.
Toby, I gotta stop you though, buddy.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
I am so proud of you. You are one of the only people, and I've done a lot of these interviews, that actually pays attention to the little unconscious details. And I'm just telling you, like, first of all, thank you, because I take it as a sincere compliment from somebody that I respect and trust. So thank you.
Welcome.
And your advice is dead on. And I'll tell you, that is why I went out and saw every speaker on the planet growing up as a kid, because I was looking for, why does Tony Robbins do that? Why does Zig Ziglar do that? Why did Martha Stewart say it this way? What kind of pause? What was her language pattern? How did they move their body? You watch those little details, and you're exactly right. Two agents go on a listing presentation. They both have the same commission. They both have the same company. They both have the same price. They both have the same splits. All that stuff is the same. Who wins? The answer is it's the person that has the most charm and likability.
Yeah. And
all of that is not your words. It's your physiology. It's your facial expression. It's your language. It's all that stuff together. So my little rant, but thank you, man.
That's all.
That you.
Yeah, no,
you see that stuff.
I appreciate that. And again, it's the other thing too, right? It's like, it's eye contact. And this is like tricky stuff, right? Not too much eye contact, right? Like you got to be careful. When you're breaking it, do you look away? Do you look, or do you look at your paper? I mean, as little tiny things, again, as, I would consider myself a great sales guy. And that's why I notice that kind of stuff. Okay. So, so you brought up your mentor and you've had all these people, teach you, and you picked up stuff along the way. This is a kind of a loaded question. If you want to, don't dodge it, but you'll answer it the way you want to answer it. But who's someone that you admire?
That's living or not living?
Let's go living, because not living's too easy. Abraham Lincoln.
No, actually, because, someone that had such a massive impact on my life.
Okay.
So I'll tell you two people. Someone that passed away September 24th last year is a mentor of mine named Mike Vance. And Mike was the first dean of the Disney University. He worked with my dad, a million years ago. He was Walt Disney's right-hand man. Then he went into his consulting and mentoring and, partnering days, and he ended up, working with Steve Jobs for years, with Jack Welch, with Mother Teresa. So, I was extremely fortunate when I was about 30 years old to hire him. It was $4,000 for an hour. And I'm telling you, man, I showed up with 2 video cameras, one of those funny old audio recording little microchip things, and 6 notepads, and sucked it all in. And literally, I look back in my life, and at 45, I'll be 46 in a couple months, so I can relate with you on the age and growing up the way we did. there were a few people that had massive dents into my universe. He was one of them, right? He passed away last year, and like forever he will be in my heart. Another gentleman, my dad's first boss, is a guy named Bill Mitchell, who I just met with a couple days ago. Bill is, when I think about being married and being a successful husband and being a good father, Bill is someone that has always been sort of that side of my mentorship, if you will, like the religious side, the family value side. And here's a guy that has retired 6 times in his life, was a home builder, played on the senior PGA Tour, retired his last job, if you will. He was on the 9th floor of Donald Bren, the Irvine Company, and he was one of basically 8 executives and the only guy that can call the chairman by his first name.
Wow.
And he earned that because of his reputation, his integrity, his intelligence, his LQ, EQ, kind of all the above. So, I'm very blessed he is alive and kicking. And listen, man, like, if I didn't say my dad, shame on me, because, if it wasn't for he and my mom, I wouldn't be here. And everyone knows, the story of my dad. And, he's kind of the Don Rickles or like Howard Stern of real estate. Like, he wants to get under your skin and then deliver his message. And where I might use as you pointed out, the sort of charismatic side, the physiology, that stuff on stage, he punches you in the face and then tells you like it is. So I, respect him immensely for, just opening doors and creating opportunity that, not all of my siblings walked through, but I saw a vision in it, and I ran through. So, those 3 men had a massive impact on who I am.
And that's awesome. And here's the reason why I asked that, Tom, is because, I can say quotes like Jim Rohn, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and it really, for you, whether it's Mike Vance or your dad or someone else, just one of those people can have a huge impact on your orbit, right? You can be going down the street, and all of a sudden you meet someone like that, and you get them into your little circle, and you're a whole different world away a year from now.
Yep.
And so I wanted to ask, so if somebody, let's say that you are somebody that there's tons of people listening right now that go, man, I would love to meet Tom. How does somebody get a meeting with a guy like you? Or I could ask it a bunch of different ways. How did you get a meeting with a guy like Mike Vance?
I stalked him. Like, he didn't have a choice. Like, this was God, I was 30. So what is that? Almost 16 years ago. Like, there wasn't social media. There was no, I don't even think there was email. Like, I was like writing letters and making phone calls, and I just got his number, and I just called him until he answered. Right? And over and over and over. And then I had to convince him, like, hey, you worked with my dad. I know you're a busy guy. I mean, you have to understand, like, this guy would hang up from a session with me, and the next call was Steve Jobs. And 2 calls later, after he helped somebody invent the salad bar, which he actually did that, he invented the salad bar, he would then talk to Jack Welch, who was then, the CEO of GE, right? So just to be in his orbit was insane.
Right.
And, like many people, they don't let everybody in. So you have to, bring them value and go the extra mile and do whatever it takes. And, I would say, hey, I want to consult with you. Like, coach me. How much? And he was like, he just threw out a number. And I was like, oh my God, that's it felt like it was so much money. And then he said, oh, that's just for an hour and you have to fly to me. And I'm like, where are you? He's like, I'm in Miami. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to fly to Miami, give you $4,000, spend an hour, then fly home. But I took it up on it. So, after tons of phone calls. So I'm a little bit different today. Like, look, I respond to every one of my tweets. If people email me, I respond. If people go on Facebook, that's me. If you get an icon that says, Tom Ferry, your coach, that's probably one of my customer service team members that's going on and saying, hey, the seminar is located here, and, this is what you need to do, yada, yada. But outside of that, man, it's all me. Like, literally, I was just DMing with a kid that I got inspired by, and I wanted to get to know, and I sent him a message. He's this 14-year-old phenom, and I'm like, dude, we got to connect. He pinged me right back, and we're engaged. That's how you do it. So if somebody wanted to connect with me, reach out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm going to be ready to go on your schedule tomorrow,
right,
but I'm going to email you and say, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to do? How can I help? Like, you're asking for help, which falls right into what I love to do.
And I think there's, and I want to ask about the right way to ask you, because there's a right and wrong way, and I get it asked for help lots of times the wrong way.
Sure.
But I think the more important thing that you're saying, Tom, at least what I'm taking out of this is, for this guy, Mike Vance, you called him over and over again. And I think the first step is the most important step, is you got to just step up and ask. And if people listening just ask, you would be amazed at what would happen. And I do this with my kids all the time, right? Like, so I ask for stuff, and I try to make them ask for stuff. And again, this could be something, you go to Nordstrom's and ask for a discount. And you know what? Like, I'll get it. You just ask. And I go, and again, at a restaurant or whatever, and I go back and I go, guys, see how easy that was? You just got to ask. And anyhow, so it's a good lesson.
Dude, I will tell you that right now I am stalking a buddy of mine who is in the midst of growing multiple companies, and he's in like 5 locations now, like, one in Europe and then all over the country. And, if I email him, he emails me right back. I'm like, dude, I need you for 90 minutes. And he's like, email my assistant. I have been emailing and following up on this for 45 days, and he just emailed me finally this morning and said, hey, can you be in New York City on this day at this time? Like, I still do it. If I want information, or if I want to get better, or like cut off years of the learning curve, I'm still doing the chase. So anybody that's listening, like, hey, it never stops. You never get to the place where, like, you know it all. So you got to keep finding that person that can help, cut out the learning curve, get you the information you need, get you over the hump. Like, that's the game.
Absolutely. Well, and I mean, how did you get, your buddies with Gary Vee? And I'll tell you a quick story, right? So I wanted to
just for the record, that's who I was talking about.
Oh, got it. Okay. How funny. Well, I'll tell you, man. So I've met Gary in person multiple times. I've traded emails with him. He doesn't know me. Maybe he'd go, yeah, I kind of remember that guy. But there was one week where I got like 3. I know a lot of people who know Gary, and I got like 3 intros to him, and it was like in 1 week. And I was like, Gary, come on, this person, you gotta come on my show. And I learned something. And again, he didn't. He's like, maybe in 6 months. And I was like, dude, I'm not. Yeah. And I was arrogant. I said, yeah, forget it, dude. Like, you're missing out, not me. I'm stupid. I didn't tell him that. Okay. But so anyhow, that's interesting. Well, look, let's talk about real estate. You are a guy that, you push people, you're pushing this industry. You're wanting to create a better experience, for your clients, and for them to serve their customers. Where do you see, Tom, real estate going in the next 18 months?
Man, in 18 months? So in what respect? Like, if I was talking with my buddies at Keeping Current Matters, Steve Harney, aka the Oracle.
Well, answered. Right? However, I don't know. I mean, look. I mean, we've been tight on inventory for a long time. We're still very tight, although we're starting to. Instead of 3.2 months, we're seeing 3.5 months. What's going to. The interest rates are definitely going to go up because of there's macroeconomic issues at work here. I mean, how would you answer that? Where do you see real estate in the next 18 months?
So I will tell you that there's 7 trends that I'm keeping the vast majority of our clients focused on. 7 things like my whole thing is like, Toby, you don't have to be able to answer the question of where it's going to be in 18 months or 3 years or 5 years. What you need to do is you need to be like 25 steps ahead of your competition. And if they just stay 25 steps ahead of their competition, and even if they're not first to market, if they're second with authority, like hard, like, hit it harder than anybody else, like, that's okay. So the stuff that I'm stressing is, number one, we've got a trend called commission compression that is going to continue. Like, the average commission is going to continue to drop, and yet storytellers that can articulate a measurable, valuable message, right, they're charging whatever they want. Like, I've got thousands of clients now that, like, you can't talk about this stuff as a real estate broker, but for me as a coach and a consultant, as a trainer, I can talk about it. Like, look, if everybody in your marketplace is charging 2.5, and when you get into the high end, it goes to 2, if you could get 7, would you be interested? The resistance I hear just from the agents, like, no way, you don't understand. Then I'm like, really? Try this, test this, do this, alter this, make your message more like this, see what happens. And I'm literally, like, I was watching one of our private Facebook pages just a few minutes before we got started, and one of our clients, Nazar, goes on and says, I went on this listing appointment, The guy had done 7 transactions with his previous agent, and there was a human element to why he got the listing, but he literally shows in this video to everybody else, like, look, guys, 7% commission. And he's like, 6 months ago, I didn't think that was possible, and I'm in a marketplace where everybody's charging 5. So we're seeing this interesting trend that, I mean, look, it's nothing new, right? Toby, you and I both know, like, there's a Walmart shopper and there is a Neiman Marcus shopper.
Right.
And there's also a Walmart experience and a Nordstrom's experience. And just like Marriott versus Four Seasons, or maybe like, Motel 6 versus Four Seasons, there's a different clientele that's looking for a different experience. And even the one that wants to, like, or maybe their budget is Motel 6, if they can get to Four Seasons and have that experience, they will pay the fees. So that's a massive trend. I would drop number 2 and not even go there. I would tell you the combination of number 3 and 4, which is we are seeing, I mean, I started watching this in the late 90s, and then we saw it through the REO, period, certainly the early 90s. We saw it really begin to take off in the early 2000s. We saw it get altered by, a change in the economy for the 7, 8, 9, 10 market, and that is total team domination, right? And what's really interesting, there's nothing new in that now, but when we were talking about it in the 90s, people were like team, assistant, buyer's agents, listing coordinator, like, what are you talking about, right? But today, when I look at how our clients are operating, the real money is in specialization, right? Having an extraordinary transaction coordinator, listing coordinator, having a marketing department, someone that manages digital, print, branding as an example, with hyper focus on cost per lead, cost per appointment, cost per sale, and recognizing that marketing's real purpose is to generate listing appointments. Just that understanding is causing these teams to shine. Buyers agents, listings agents, showing specialists, lead nurturers, appointment setters. So we're seeing this massive, just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like this, it's a gift to the industry. The best are cleaning everybody's clocks, but that's not the interesting trend. The interesting trend is that when you look at the 3 primary companies in the marketplace, and I'm talking U.S. right now only,
yep.
That are acquiring real estate companies, guess what, buddy? There's not many companies left to buy. So who are they turning to now? So one of my dear friends, Steve Murray, who, if you're listening to this, if you know the company Real Trends, Steve is a longtime friend. I actually had him speak to about 75 of our top teams, and these are teams with 15, 18 people. The average commission income, Toby, of that group is 2.45,
nice.
Right? Like almost $2.5 million. Like, these are business people. These are entrepreneurs that happen to sell homes. You with me?
Yep.
He broke down analytically my prediction of the future, and he literally said, look, teams will be selling for basically 3 to 7x trailing 12 months revenue. But the kicker is the team lead has to be doing less than 15% of the total sales volume. Right? If you're like, think about it, right? If you're the team lead and you do all the business, why would I buy you? I'll just recruit you over on a different split. You don't have a saleable asset. But if you build an operating system, you've got marketing and lead generation, a sales mechanism, a sales strategy for your team, and you're doing less than 15% of the business, you're basically a real estate broker who just doesn't have all the expense of a broker. So that trend over the next 4 to 5 years, because we're going to have 45 more years of this type of market we're in right now, small appreciation, bumps in interest rates, trying to remove the fear, if you will, the constant negative news, Fox, NBC, all that garbage that's scaring the home buyers and sellers that don't know the value of their home, all this fear in the marketplace, right? All that is going to just shake out over the next 4 to 5 years, but teams are going to dominate and teams are going to start selling. And it's already happening. It's already happening, and that's fascinating. But I got 2 other interesting trends if you want to hear it.
Yeah,
Can I tell you
absolutely.
more or no?
Yeah. Keep going.
You can tell that I don't get fired up about this. Can you hear the shift in my energy? So if I was listening right now, the number 5 trend, and I've been talking about this now for almost a year and a half, and now, it's funny when you start talking about a year and a half ago, people are like, what? And now they're like, dude, I'm seeing it everywhere. And I called the trend big whale hunting, and here's what I said to everybody. look, we all know these hedge funds that, basically from, call it, 2009 until about 2011, bought, 485,000 single-family residences. And hedge funds, if you know anything about that market, like, they buy, they get their return, they sell, they take that cash, they go buy the next asset. And when you start looking at the time to turn the money, it's right now. So I'm talking to clients in Vegas, in Tampa, in Arizona that are like, oh my goodness, all those guys that I was selling all those houses to, they're not there, but the firm still owns the assets. They don't know who to get the listings to. They're just going to like relocation companies or relationships, or my brother knows an agent, and now we're having agents really get hyper-focused on relationships with those hedge funds. No different from, Toby, when we worked asset managers in 2006, 7, 8, 9, or, short sale relationships with the banks. It's the same exact process. So not everybody can play there because not everybody has the swagger to go fly to New York and meet with Blackstone or to find all the smaller ones that only own 2,000 homes,
right,
and basically arbitrage those relationships into 25% referral fees for agents all across the country, and you just control the ones in your marketplace. So that's a big one.
That's really interesting because I'll tell you. So go back to 08, 09. Like I was flipping houses then, and I wouldn't do a flip unless there was at least 60 grand in it, right? So I was getting 60 grand to 120 grand on single family homes, and all of a sudden you get into late 2010, 2011, all these hedge funds came in, and what would happen was they were just buying it. So they don't need 60 grand, right? They need 10 grand, and that's fine. They'll buy and hold because most funds, if for you and the people who know about funds, most funds are about 8 to 10 years. So that's funny. I didn't really put the two together, but I think you're 100% right. Those guys are about to turn that. Very interesting.
Like for the person that was like, I don't care about this Tom Ferry guy, and who cares if he surfs or doesn't surf, but they need to be on that shit. Like if they're, if you're a business person today and you're sitting there saying, hey, there's no inventory. Like, okay, first of all, don't ever say that again because it's lame. There is plenty of inventory. You're just not doing what it takes to get the relationships of the inventory, right?
Yeah.
So you got to, stop complaining about no inventory and go find the inventory, right? The deals are everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere.
That's a big one.
Okay.
But a very simple one. So I'll tell you right now, you're going to see over the next 18 months, this is one that I've been talking about for a while, and I can remember, like, when I started this company, Toby, I looked around at my competition, and then I looked at, like, how I coached. And the sort of the common theme, if you will, with everybody that I was working with at the time, and not being braggadocio, but, like, the last year I was a coach for my dad, 16 of the top 100 agents in the country were my personal clients. Like, not clients of the company. They were my personal clients. So when I looked at what these men and women had in common, they didn't have, like, one of my competitors who says, only work referrals, right? And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then, another one of my competitors like, only market. And then another person's like, all that stuff's stupid. Just make cold calls, right? The thing that all these men and women had in common was there's no wrong way to generate a client, right? There's no wrong way. You have to be adaptable in your skills and your marketing to whatever's happening in the market. So if the high end falls apart and you're in the high end, you switch to the mid and the low, right? And you've got to be adaptable to every one of those marketplaces. Short sales, high end, low end, rentals, it didn't make a difference. That's what these men and women all had in common. So when we started the company, like, our central value was there's no wrong way to generate a client. Know yourself, know your market, like, know the addressable market. And then basically, I said a million years ago, lead generation is an arbitrage game. And this is before the Zillows of the world, but Realtor.com, it had certainly already existed, and email marketing service providers. Remember, like, newsletter service providers? Like, agents would spend like $100 a month to get a email newsletter from somebody, and then they would put it out with their name on it. Like,
sure, yeah.
Lead generation, it baffles me. It absolutely baffles me today when someone says, I don't have business. I want to punch them in the face. I'm like, are you kidding me? There is a $14, now $15 billion ad spend to attract clients for real estate today. And Zillow, who, many love and many despise, and I don't care, right? They've got 165 million people going to their websites every single month, so they're doing something right.
Right.
Like, you can get leads from them. You can get leads from Boomtown. You can get leads from a dude sitting with a sign in front of your office going, want to buy a house? Arrow here. Like, smoke signals, email, direct mail. There's no wrong way to do it.
Right.
But that's not the game anymore. The trend now is all the money's in conversion. All the money's in conversion. I met with a guy today whose number, and I'm not going to say his name because you would know him, but very successful in San Diego. Drove up to my office today. We had a 90-minute session, and he's like, look, I made like $2.9 million in commissions. Here's all my costs, right? Here's my marketing expense. Here's my, operational expense. Here's my salaries, team members. Here's the commission, and this is what I made. And he's like, how do I make more money without spending another dime? And I'm like, bro, all the money is in conversion. How many leads, how many appointments, how many signed contracts? And he's like, I know how many appointments, I know how many signed contracts, I don't know how many leads. And I'm like, there's your problem. If you're not tracking how many leads you're getting in and what is your cost per lead,
right,
that's like the first leading indicator of what's going to happen to my business. Well, so we get on the phone with his marketing assistant, and guess what we discovered? The guy generates 350 leads on average every month. Let me be specific, buyer leads.
Okay.
And I said to him, the minimum conversion is 2.2 out of every 100, so tell me about how many 7 to 8 escrows you're opening up every month. And he's like, we're getting like 3 to 4. So Toby, he has a conversion problem.
Yep.
I've got 5 salespeople on my team. I give them more leads than they know what to do with. They cherry pick the 1 or 2 that are easy. They make a little bit of money. He makes enough money, but now he's complaining because he wants a higher net.
Yeah.
And I said, you either hire more salespeople or we do a better job tracking what happens to every lead, and we up the standard of role-playing around conversion, follow-up around conversion. You look at solutions like Boomtown and Conversion and Commissions Inc., all these companies that are developing this beautiful behavioral science around who's ready to do something now, but then you got to have someone that acts on it. So for him, just to get rid of one of his buyer's agents, God bless him, and get one person whose only job is lead, nurture, and set appointments, he's like, yeah. Like that one little idea for him. All the money is in conversion. It doesn't matter how many leads you get. It matters what is your conversion into right now business and nurturing business in the future. That's the game today, because leads are not the defining factor in today's world, because leads are acquirable everywhere.
Yep, and through a ton of different channels. Now, look,
of course,
we have to start wrapping up here because I know you have another meeting. Really quickly, if you can answer this question, because look, I'll briefly say this. I think, and I could be wrong, so don't. When I look at the world of coaching, I can look at. I'm not going to say any names, but I can look at this guy and I kind of know what his deal is. I can look at this guy and know what his deal is. And I can tell you how I brand you, Tom, is I think that you are, in my opinion, I think you're a tech-focused guy, right? I think you're the guy who is actually looking down the road. You're the guy who I would say is the most 2016 out of all these coaches out there. So when it comes to tech, do you see? We talked about commission compression. We're starting to see. Are you familiar with companies like Open Door?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. This is not a gotcha show. But do you think, with what Open Door is doing, making the home buying and selling process easier, or online, virtual, do you think in a world 2 years, 24, 36, whatever months from now, do you see the role of the real estate agent being disintermediated like we saw with travel agents?
I'm going to say to you, with a capital H and a capital N. Hell no.
Okay, good.
Let me just shed some light on something. I am not the most tech savvy guy, right? I mean, do I have an iPhone? Did I get one early? Did I have a website in 1994? Was I doing email marketing early? Yes, yes, yes. Did I jump on Facebook early? Yes, yes, yes. Did I miss a bunch of stuff? Yes, yes, yes. Do I feel like I'm behind the ball on Snapchat, Gary Vee? Come on, man, Snapchat, right? Yeah. So The thing, though, is Toby, the only thing I care about is what's relevant to the people I'm looking to reach, right? So it's all about relevant marketing. You with me? So the thing that I stress to my clients, and like I remember in like, oh God, like 2011 saying to my clients, start boosting everything on Facebook. They're like, what? I remember by 2013 people saying to me, Facebook seller advertising is dead. And yet I invest in a company today that will do $10 million in revenue, and that's all they help people do.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a skyrocketing solution for people that are looking for listing leads. Like, so I don't think that I'm super tech savvy. I'm very mindful of what the consumers are doing and how best the agents can stay relevant with them. So I will tell you, to your point, no. But I do believe if I had to put, so I'll make this public. Ready?
Okay.
I invest in a lot of real estate, like technology companies that go outside of real estate as well, startups. I do all that stuff, right? Super fun, that's my crazy ride a skateboard fast kind of stuff, right? To me, the scariest position, in my opinion, to be in is the back end of real estate today. Specifically, accounting, brokerage, and compliance. The back end has not been disrupted in decades. The front end is disrupted every day. There's a new Agentology or Zillow or DingDing.com. The front end is being disrupted nonstop, right? But nobody is disrupting the back end. So if I was an entrepreneur listening right now, I'd be like, yeah, like there's only one company, and I don't even have to say it because if you don't know it, you don't know the space, but there's only one company that basically controls the back end of all these real estate companies, and that would be something like, I'd be like, what was that guy? He started that little company, Microsoft. He scratched his head and said, how can I build the operating system that all computers run on? Like, I'd be focusing on that because that is going to disrupt the industry and someone's going to make a fortune. But the other one is, I am super convinced that a consumer should be able to buy a home from their iPhone in 5 steps. I'm super convinced, and I'm talking to a lot of people about it, and it's not my idea. I don't own the space. I certainly have articulated it to a lot of people. I've had people ping me and say, dude, I'm working on that too. Let's work on it together. And anytime some knucklehead says, and we're going to bypass the agent, I punch him in the face and say, no, the agent is there to consult the customer. Right? This is a human experience, and it's an emotional transaction. And I just say to them, if you don't understand that, then you need to go buy a house again and remember what that experience is like and get out of this sort of transactional mindset of can bypass and buy a cheap ticket on Expedia. I want to buy a home from my iPhone with my agent. I just want to do it while I'm sitting on my couch, open up my phone, a virtual reality experience submerges me into the entire house. I literally go meet the next door neighbors, and whether I'm wearing an Oculus or I've got a Google Glass on or something on my eye or it's just, my iPhone, the experience, but then the back end, Toby, that's where I think the excitement is, right? You look at Dotloop being acquired by Zillow and what that means. There is some cool stuff happening here. But at its core, I think about my grandmother, Liz Wesley, who's 92 years old. I have a photo of her in my office with a Century 21 name badge on. She was slinging real estate, driving her Trans Am. I can remember when she retired from real estate, 1978, dude, in Huntington Beach, California. My grandmother was a baller, total rock star, raised 6 kids. She was out selling houses for $5,000. Right? And I remember remember when the fax machine was going to take over the world and email was going to take over the world? Now, I'm not stupid enough to say, there is a massive rise in irrelevant agents today, right? There are a bunch of people that are not relevant to the marketplace.
Majority.
I think we're going to end up with 300,000 uber sophisticated teams that are doing all the business, and whether they are their own brokerage or associated with a brokerage, but it's going to be I want real estate to be like one of my good friends, Chris Duma, who does 15 brain surgeries a week. Toby, do you know how much school and education and time he had to put in to become a brain surgeon at Hoag Hospital in Newport Beach?
Jeez. Crazy.
Like, I mean, think about it, dude. Like, you get your real estate license, you pass a couple tests that have nothing to do with selling houses, just trying to avoid lawsuits, and then you get in the business and there's an 87% failure rate. You don't see that with doctors. That's how important the profession of real estate is, in my opinion. I just want to raise the standard. I don't see us being like taken out of the business. I see the best agents becoming even more valuable to the transaction.
Being elevated. And I think one of the things that people miss is, and I'll let you answer this stat, but we as real estate agents, I mean, what's the number? What percentage of the GDP do we as real estate agents move every year, Tom?
Okay, so I've heard the number as high as 27%. 27% of the gross domestic product is related to housing. I just looked at a report from CAR. A transaction's done in California, and there's an additional $110,000 in revenue post the house being, like the buyer moving in. Like, there is the agent sits at the epicenter of 27% of the GDP, and some of them were asking, where's the inventory?
Right. Insane. Look,
crazy.
Again, it's crazy, dude. And we gotta, there's so much else I want to get to. You were dropping some nuggets there. I would have stopped someone else, but I let you go because that's all good stuff. The hedge fund, notion, ticket, concept, whatever. That's a great one. Real quick. Again, I do believe, and again, I do believe you are early. Have you missed some stuff tech-wise? Sure. Are you the early, in terms of the coaches, are you one of the early ones on Snapchat, so many other platforms? Yeah. I can tell you do a fantastic job of remarketing or retargeting. I get on your website and all of a sudden you're following me around everywhere. And I tell people when I coach people, I go, listen, look, you should focus on retargeting. Go see how Tom does it. Go get it in his site. And then, and then go get a Google, a Facebook pixel, put it on, whatever. So I think you are very, very, advance in the tech world. So look, on that notion, what do you read, Tom? We always ask for a book recommendation. Here's the setup. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25. What book should I go buy today?
So I'm looking at the stack of books that is sitting over here, and so I read a ton, I listen a ton, and I watch a ton. Conservatively, Toby, it's like 2.5 hours a day for me.
Wow.
So I don't like being a book of the month club kind of guy, but I'm going to tell you there's a book that has struck such a tremendous chord in me. I have shared it with a bunch of people. I get 50-50 reviews. The people that read it go, holy shit, this is insane. I get it. And others are like, it's a little too out there for me. So I'll give it to you, and for the person that's listening, if you are an entrepreneur, if you live and die by Peter Drucker's line, all business is innovation and marketing, this will be your new favorite book.
Okay.
Right? This is a book that I've now read 4 times. I've listened to the audio podcast, the entire thing. I'm going to the guy's university coming up in September. It has nothing to do with real estate, but the book is called Bold, B-O-L-D, by Peter Diamandis, right? Peter Diamandis, his first book was called Abundance, and he was a San Diego guy, like San Diego and Santa Monica, I should say, but the whole book is about, where is everything going? First, it starts with, why right now is the greatest time on the planet to be alive. We're living longer, we're healthier, there's more money, and you can talk to 7 billion people a day if you wanted to. It's never been easier. But then people needed to be able to say, but how do I put it into play? What's going to happen with virtual reality, with artificial intelligence, with the human re-engineering, his desire to have us live to be 160 years old? People will say, well, that has nothing to do with real estate. And I'm like, wait a minute. If people live to be 160, that's a lot of referrals. That's a lot of opportunity. And if you think about virtual reality in relationship to real estate, Zillow already they nodded their hat and said, we're coming to VR, right? With giving ease and access to video through people's houses. It's going to be here on Tuesday. Will it be Oculus? Who knows? I'd read this book and I'd read it tonight. Or like I'm a fanatic on saving time. If you just go to YouTube and type in Peter Diamandis Bold, he was at my buddy Joe's The Genius Network. Just go watch his talk. Yeah, exactly. Just go watch that talk, and you'll see it in 40 minutes, and it's bedazzling. So that would be my advice. And
I'll tell you, I follow. I just got an email from not from him. I got his email. I'm on his email list. The guy's awesome. So everybody, if you want to read what Tom reads, get a free copy of this book on us. Go to audibletrial.com/superagentslive. Get Abundance by Peter Diamandis. Hey, Tom, I appreciate you taking the time out. Where can people find out more about you? I think you have a summit coming up. If you want to plug that real quick and let people know where they can find you, we can sign off.
Sure. So we'll do 140 seminars around the world this year. So, we hope that we get to your nook and cranny of the world. But if we don't, the one place where about 6,000 people will travel in from all over the place is Las Vegas. This summer, the 13th through the 18th, and I think that's a bonus day in the beginning, 4-day event. And basically what's cool about this event is it's a gathering, right? Like I always tell people, I'm on stage and I have these extraordinary agents that get up and share this wide variety of how they do what they do, very tactical, super user-friendly. That's the one, 97% of the people say they refer it because they get stuff that they can use tomorrow to go get business. So I'm pumped about that, but I get really pumped about when you put that many big thinkers, cool thinkers, out-of-the-box thinkers in Vegas for a couple days together. Yeah, people will probably be, running late and having fun at night, but the ideas, the brain exchange, the networking is going to be insane. And my only promise is basically I'm going to deliver, so how about this, Toby, 7 case studies of the 7 best listing attraction campaigns directly from our clients. So I've got hundreds of these case studies that myself and our learning circle leaders and our coaches council and our coaches are going through to dissect, what are the 7 that anybody could use basically in any marketplace, from zero budget, cost, to maybe tens of thousands of dollars, but every one of them generates a minimum of $100,000 in commissions. So my belief is show people how to remove the fear of the buyer, show people how to connect with more potential sellers, and then basically remove the excuse of I don't know what to send, what to say, or what to do to get more listings. So that's the summit. Just go to tomferry.com, check it out, and if that doesn't fly for you, check out something else we're doing, or go to, you mentioned our ability to market. I actually revealed a big chunk of it on episode 53 of the Tom Ferry Show, which really had my marketing team quite upset, but it is good to be the owner now and then. So I would also tell everybody, if you really want to figure this stuff out, I have a lot of amazing people in my marketing group, and episode 53, I share a big chunk of everything we do, and it's free.
That's awesome. I'm going to go check it out. And look, and for everybody who's on the fence, I think that Tom has been pretty, transparent about, he's willing to bet on himself, right? Whether it's Mike Bant spending $4,000 for an hour, if you don't have enough business in your life and you want more, and you want to, as Tom said, right, it's all a conversion game. Go to the summit, spend the money. It's a couple of bucks, and see what you learn there. We can all learn more. Hey, Tom, thanks, buddy. I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking the time out.
Thank you, man. And again, as we started this, Toby, and I know we got a couple minutes beforehand, I want to thank you from all of your listeners and the industry. I mean, you have a very special gift, buddy. You get all these cool people to just share, and you keep it very real, and you're very easy to talk to and to share ideas with. So just thank you, man.
Thanks,
keep up
buddy.
the great work, and I hope that 2016 is your absolute best year ever, buddy.
I think it will, and I want to pick up where we started and share with you exactly what we're doing. I'd love to get your head on it. So, all right, man. Hey, go get him. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
This show is produced by me, Toby Salgado, with help from our research team and production done by Viralcast. If you're building a team and want to make sure you're doing it the most efficient way, reach out to Corcoran Coaching. They coach 83 of the nation's top producing teams. And for our listeners, they'll give you a free business evaluation. Send an email to Bubba at CorcoranCoaching.com and let them know I told you guys to call.